Hi, I'm Bass Fox. Welcome to today's quickie. This is becoming a series, I guess. I'm doing these quick sound design videos about using the Darkglass Anagram to create different kinds of sounds for your bass. And I'm usually inspired by some kind of social media post where somebody says, oh, I wish I could do this on the Anagram. And I'm like, wait, but you can. And the reason I know these things is I am a sound designer and a synthesist, as well as a bass player. I'm a producer, so I do have some knowledge about effects and signal chain and gain staging and things like that. So when somebody says, I wish there was a wah-wah for the Anagram, I'm like, well, a wah-wah is just a bandpass filter controlled by your foot. We have a bandpass filter in the Anagram. That's the Gravitron. Oh, and it says envelope filter. The fact that it says envelope filter doesn't mean you can't use it controlled by your foot. All you have to do is turn the sensitivity down and bind your expression pedal to the cutoff frequency. And just like that, you have a wah-wah pedal. So I made a preset last night that I really like. It's what you just heard me play in the intro. And now I'm going to explain to you how I did it. All right. So by the way, you can find this as Bass Fox Wah online in the Darkglass Suite. It's a public preset now, as well as every other preset I'm making for this series. You can always find them under Bass Fox. And this is the Bass Fox Wah. Right. So let's have a look at how I made the preset. So let me put the bass down real quick. And we're gonna start a fresh preset just so you can see step by step. But you know, we're gonna have a quick overview here just to remind me of everything I did. There's a couple of things that I actually muted that I didn't need. So just to refresh my own memory, and before we start with making it from scratch, we have, as usual, a noise gate in the beginning. Then we have a split, right? So immediately the first thing I do is split the signal. Why am I doing that? Because I want to have a parallel signal that isn't affected by the wah, so that you don't lose the beefiness, the bass, right? Because a bandpass filter is going to cut lows as well as highs depending on the position. On the top row, we have a horror bass, so we have an amplifier. This is to give it a little grit, because when you filter something that's very basic sounding, you don't feel it too much. But once you add a little bit of harmonics by adding a little bit of distortion, then when you really hear the effect of the filtering. So on the split that's being filtered, we have the horror bass. The horror bass is with overdrive on and a little bit of gain there, so it gives it a little bit of grit so that we really hear the filtering. And then you have the Gravitron. Now the Gravitron, you'll see, has sensitivity on minimum because we don't want it to be triggered by the envelope. The envelope is the volume shape, the amplitude shape of your playing, right? How loud you're playing. So when you play loudly, it opens the filter more. When you play softly, it opens it less. As the note decays, the filter closes. That's what an envelope filter is. But when you turn the sensitivity all the way off, all you have is a filter. It's no longer an envelope filter. And what we did is we bound the my foot switch here, which is just a generic cheap Nectar foot switch I got off Amazon, and I did set there's a little knob here where you can set the minimum, and I set it to kind of in the middle there because I don't want it to go all the way dead. It's too much range. So this is where I keep it in the sweet spot there, right? And I chose bandpass, right? That's the Gravitron. I experimented with the Moog one and didn't like it. So, let's just erase that. We don't need it. Goodbye. So after the Gravitron, we merge back the bottom row, and we'll look at what the bottom row does in a minute. And then I have a compressor that's affecting the whole thing. Initially, I had a Jim bass here which eventually I opted for having individual amplifiers per row rather than one global one. So we don't need that one either. We're gonna erase that, delete, right? And we can move this guy back here. And that's just the cabinet, the orange cabinet. I like that one, it sounded nice. These are affecting already the merged sound with the top filtered row and the bottom row. What's going on at the bottom row? So let's have a look. This is simple. It's just an octave, right? And then the preamp that I chose for the clean sounds, my favorite clean preamp in the Anagram, which is the harmonic booster. And basically I just put character all the way up, and that's all I do. In fact, I wish my bass had a character knob and I wouldn't need the harmonic booster. I don't really use anything else from it. Just that character just gives it character. It's what I love about the harmonic booster. And that's it. So it's very simple. The sub bass here is pretty mixed. Clean and octave level are the same, how it comes default. Then it goes through the harmonic booster to give a little character, and that merges back in after the filter on the top row. Now both sounds get compressed with the lumino and then go through a cabinet, and that's it. So let me kneel here because this is why I like having my Anagram on a desk. Anyway, so let's start a new one. Let's save this one, right? Because we got rid of those useless blocks there that we weren't using. And let's go to a new preset here. So this is untitled, and we're going to start by adding a noise gate as usual. And then we want to split. So now we've already stopped the noise and we've split it two ways, right? This split should be set to half and half, right? We don't want crossover. Crossover is off. Let's go back here. And now we're gonna give it some harmonics. We're gonna give our sound a little bit of grit so that when we filter it, we really hear that sweeping, right? So I'm gonna go to amps and cabs, and I'm gonna choose the brand new horror bass, which I'm loving. It's an orange simulation of an orange terror, I think it is. And we're gonna turn the overdrive on. We're gonna give it a little bit of gain. 6.6 should be fine. We might want to add some treble. We'll decide that when we're hearing the sound, right? So after the horror bass comes the filter. So right here in EQ filters and dynamics, I did initially I thought that the Moog filter would be the appropriate one for this. It didn't sound good. I ended up going with Gravitron, and it worked great, especially because the Moog one doesn't have a bandpass feature. It only has a low pass. I mean, you could get away with using a low pass, perhaps, but really, wah-wahs are bandpass, right? Now, we want the sensitivity all the way down, right? And now we want to bind the cutoff frequency to this Gravitron over here. So here's a couple of things. We have to go into device settings here, and in audio and expression, we have to make sure you have insert and expression selected on this third option over here. So unless you do this, the return jack is not acting as expression, and you get inactive over here for expression. So for calibrate, what you can do, make sure your foot switch, if it has a knob here, if it has a control, make sure that it's open all the way. And then you can hit calibrate here, and then, put the pedal on heel down position, press next, and then heel up and press finish calibration. It's now calibrated, right? And now we can go back and do a bind, right? So we hit binding over here, bindings. And as you move the nectar, you can hit plus here, choose the Gravitron, and choose cutoff frequency. Right, so now we can get out of binding and back to chain. And when we use the foot switch, it's now, you can see how it's affecting the Gravitron cutoff. Now this is too much, so we want that initial. I'm gonna turn the knob up here a bit. Yeah, now I have much more range here to set that minimum. And right there, a little before halfway, is where I like it, where I've already tested it and realized that it sounds, it's effective there. It's a sweet spot for the filtering. All right, so now on the bottom row, we're gonna start with an octave. So over here in modulation and pitch, we're gonna choose this guy over here, the substitute, is that what it's called? And I have clean and octave and filter everything the same. That's good. And we're gonna just give it a little feel, a little taste, make it a little tastier with a harmonic booster with character all the way. And that's it. Now we want to treat the whole sound a little bit. So first we're going to merge that bottom row back in with utilities, merge. And then after the merge, we're going to add a compressor, which is, I like to use the Lumino. I'll fiddle with the settings when I'm hearing it, if I feel like it needs something. And then, what was it? What was the last thing? I don't remember. So let's save this preset. We're going to call it Wah Bass Fox, just to make it different from the other one. Only one of them will probably make it to the cloud, right? So, but this will let me go back to the first one and see, oh yeah, a cabinet. Now the cabinet, you know, you might like the sound without the cabinet. You might want the cabinet. The cabinet makes it a little darker. So if you want maybe a brighter sound, perhaps you don't need that cabinet there because you're already getting pretty filtered by the filter itself anyway, right? So let's go back to our other one and add that cabinet just to give us the option, right? So we're gonna go to amps and cabs. And I did like using that orange 210, I think, or 212, is it? 8x10. Right, okay. So that 8x10 with, you know, just as it comes default is pretty cool. And that's it. This is the preset. Let's open it up and have a look. It looks like, yeah, it's exactly what we had. So now let's play a little bit and see if it's doing the same thing or if we need to tweak it any real quick. So this is my Joe Dart 3, which is a short scale P bass by Sterling that I really love. I did a review of this bass. Please check it out if you're interested. It's I have a lot more expensive and classic basses than this one, but this has been my favorite for a while now. Since I got it, pretty much it's the one I play the most. See that? All right, so one thing you can do to tweak it is just the merge here. You can determine how much of that low octave sound you want versus the top filtered one, right? So if I turn it all the way left, you're getting only the filtered sound. Right, and if you don't feel like that's radical enough, you can turn up the drive here, the gain and treble on your fruity HB 500. And already we're here. Much more radical wah effect, right? Now we can close that up. And if we turn the blend all the way to the right, you hear no wah at all. Right? So you don't want that, obviously. For this patch, I'm going to find a nice medium, a nice balance. And that's up to you. That's going to be up to you. I kind of like it here, where it's a little bit more of the wah. Now I feel like I can have a little more volume there. So let's have a look at the compressor. It looks like the gain reduction is okay. Maybe we can have a little bit more compression here. And it's important that the compression is after, because how loud you play affects how you're driving that amp. So that's an interesting dynamic aspect of it. So I like to put the compressor afterwards to, you know, even out the dynamics a little bit, but not lose that expressive tonal difference from playing loudly versus playing softly. And you can even use your volume knob here to change that as well. So we can have a little bit more ratio and a little bit more input and output, just to give us a little hotter See, so that the output is at least about where the input is. So you can do a bypassed. There's not a huge volume difference from just my bass to the output. What else can you do to tweak it? Well, you might not want the octave, right? Or you might want less of the octave. So that's octave level here. You can turn it down, or you can just turn off the octave one altogether and just have a plain. You can save that as a scene on the preset, so you can quickly switch the octave on and off as you wish, right? We're gonna go back to octave level 5 here. That's it. Very simple sound design class here, sound design tutorial on the Anagram. And I'm going to be doing more of these because I find the Anagram to be an absolutely perfect platform for designing sounds for bass in a very easy way, where you're not dealing with a ton of cables and power supplies and physical pedals. You can save the settings, you can save the presets, you have them forever. Once you do, you can share them with people. So as much as I love my little physical pedals, and I can do all of this with them as well, except for envelope, for example, you can't really turn the sensitivity all the way off on most envelope filters. They'll still be a little bit envelopey, and you can't really assign a foot switch to most of them either. So there are things you can do here that you can't even accomplish with physical pedals, right? If you want to have split it, for example, you have to have some kind of a splitter, which most people don't have in their pedal boards. You have space here for, 40 pedals maybe, so you'd need something giant. So again, by the way, I'm not sponsored by Anagram. It might sound like I am because I'm doing basically a commercial for them, but honestly it's just my infatuation with the device. I bought it with my own money and I love this thing, and I'm going to continue making content for it, and maybe someday Darkglass will ask me to be a official partner, but in the meantime I'm just doing this out of my love for the bass and the Anagram and sound design and you guys. So thank you very much for watching. If you can, please hit like, subscribe, or comment below, as this is a young channel and it can use all the help it can get. And see ya. Feel the vibration. I've been Bass Fox.
Yeah.